So I'm very excited to announce our customer panel session. So we have representation from a cross-section of industries. We have retail, we have B2B, we have travel, and we have gaming. And each of the companies is at a very different stage of its export life cycle and has a very different organizational structure. So we hope there's something for everyone. So first of all, I would like to invite Maxim to stage. Maxim is Head of Performance at Kaspersky Lab. Kaspersky Lab is one of the fastest growing IT security companies worldwide. It is one of the world's top 4 leading vendors of endpoint security software. The company is headquartered in Moscow, Russia, and has offices in 29 countries. Its products provide protection for over 300 million users in almost 200 countries. So fair is to say they're big. Maxim. Next up, we have Shonagh Primrose. Shonagh is Head of International at Wiggle. Wiggle is a UK-based online company that sells sporting goods. They have 12 international sites, and they're based in Portsmouth in England. Shonagh is a consultant working with them, and she's only been working with them for 6 months. But prior to joining Wiggle, she was working in internationalization with a gambling firm, Betfair, and with Tesco's. Shonagh. Next up, we have Andreas, Head of Performance Marketing at Bigpoint Games. Bigpoint is Europe's leading online games developer and publisher, and one of the biggest gaming companies worldwide, headquartered in Hamburg in Germany with offices all across the globe. They have a portfolio of 70 games that are available in 25 languages and have users in more than 200 countries. Andreas. And last but not least, we have the home team. We have Robin Shortt, CEO of Exploring Ireland. Exploring Ireland is an inbound tour operator that sells travel into Ireland, Scotland, New Zealand, and Canada. I just learned this afternoon. The firm is based in the Midlands in Ireland in County Westmeath, and it's Ireland's fastest growing tour operator. Robin. Now, to give everyone context, what I might ask you all to do is give us a brief overview of your company from an export perspective and the role you have within your organization. We might start with you, Maxim, and work our way along.
Thanks, Sarah. So actually, you gave a good background on Kaspersky. I'm wondering, how many of you have watched the opening ceremony of Sochi? Okay, that's good. So now you know something about Russia. But honestly, the ceremony was more about the past of Russia. So, you know, but that's good. I mean, speaking about modern Russia, what comes to your mind usually is like, I don't know, vodka, beled, matryoshka, balalaika, etc. So the point is that if they went forward, they had to tell about Kaspersky. Because honestly, I'm not kidding. I mean, in real world right now, there are only, I don't know, 3 or 4. Anyway, I can use my only one hand to count things that have been exported from Russia besides oil. So actually, Kaspersky is one of them. And the point is that it's a software company. So it's easy to export software. Probably you hate me because actually it's digital download. It's all easy. And that's why we went worldwide. And now Kaspersky is a perfect example of a company which exports because actually our sales are mostly international. And Russia, though it's a home market, it's not the major country. So indeed, it's 30 local offices. We are selling more than in 200 countries. We have 27 websites, localized websites, and partners websites. So yeah, it's kind of a lot of things. Thanks.
Shonagh.
Yep, so Wiggle is a sporting retailer, cycling, tri and swimming. We are based in Portsmouth, as said. We've got 12 international sites as well as our UK site. And we export to 105 countries or above that. In terms of the Wiggle setup, we have localized product offering. We've got localized customer service, so we offer customer service in all the languages that we have on the website. We have localized payment options and delivery options. And that's probably a good overview. In terms of my role, it's overseeing all of the different websites and businesses internationally, running the whole P&L, and looking at expansion and strategy for further internationalization.
Andreas?
Yes, so Bigpoint is online games. Actually, we're not exporting a product, we're exporting a service because our games, they can be accessed online and they're also free to play, which means you don't have to pay anything to play our games, which makes it very easy to access from all over the world. And Sarah mentioned it correctly, we're active anywhere in the world. Localized only into 25 languages up to now, but there might be more to come. We make our money through in-game transactions, so virtual products you can buy in the game, which you can buy for different purposes. Regarding my role is I'm responsible for customer acquisition, user acquisition, what we call it in the gaming industry. And my day-to-day business is actually trying to maximize our budget, so that's something not everybody might be familiar with, but we have an unlimited budget, and so we try to maximize our budget while maintaining ROI goals and customer lifetime value goals that are very strict for us to handle.
I think that's the only time I've ever heard only 25 languages.
Up to us.
Robin.
So Exploring Ireland, we're an inbound tour operator. We sell travel services and tours in Ireland, the UK and New Zealand. Our market for customers at the moment is the USA and Canada, although we're currently working to develop the business within France and Germany, both as a destination for North American customers and also for customers out of France and Germany into Ireland and the UK. In terms of what I do, I run the company with my brother. We're based in Mullingar, about 1 hour from here. I take care of pretty much the finance and the marketing of the company, and my brother manages the sales team that are based here in Ireland.
Okay. So most of you have already voted on questions in the app, so you can still vote, and I'm getting to see the results of them as we go, so it's all good. Shonagh, you have extensive experience in internationalization. We talked a lot earlier today about the steps that companies need to take to set them up to internationalize. Have you any advice in that area in your own experience?
I think probably the first thing is to be really clear about what the expectations are of going internationally, what the objectives are. And once you've got that, then it's really about being clear about how acceptable the customer proposition is going to be in each of those countries. There's a sliding scale from gold-plated international proposition, exactly like a local would do it, through to just offering local currency and language. So I think my advice would be very clear about what you're trying to achieve and whereabouts you sit on that scale. And then once you've done that, it's just about getting the research. And I think when you know what you're trying to achieve, you can then focus your research on where you need to go and get the information from. And that could be on what payment options you need, what your competition is going to look like, any of the challenges and pitfalls you're going to have in terms of currency and sales proposition. And I think it really does depend business to business about how you want to do it.
Robin, what criteria would you use to select new markets? Is there any particular metrics that you look at, and how do you scope them out?
Yes, so when we first start to look at a new market, we need to see a minimum of about 400,000 visitors coming out of that marketplace into wherever the destination for the tours we're planning to sell. Anything below that number kind of makes it difficult when you get in there to scale it to any huge value. So we look at the number, and then we do some demographic search to see. A lot of our customers tend to be of retirement age. They're at the stage of their lives where they want to travel, but they want people to look after them. And they're also, a lot of them would be on limited funds. So we look for that type of customer to see if they're available in the market. And if they are, then we look to come into that market and sell our products within there.
Maxim, would your organisation approach that any differently? And then once you've made a decision to move into a market, how quickly do you move?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I wanted to add one point here that the question is not as easy as to go to the market or not to go to the market. It's also always a question how to go to the market. So I would say that you could export, let's say, in 3 ways. It could be passive export. I mean, in our case, for instance, we have a global international website, which is in English, which allows everyone to make a purchase. So we are kind of there. I mean, that's one mode, but it requires almost nothing. So there is another mode when you actively approach the market. So you create localized website, you create localized promos, so everything is local. And that is third mode, which is actually to use a partner. It could be affiliate, it could be online distributor. If you have a strong brand, you will find someone who will be ready to promote your brand locally. So of course, okay, the margin is lower, but still you have no costs and it's an easy way. So in our case, I wouldn't say that there is a question if we need to go somewhere or not. No, we want to be everywhere. Because you know, with software, the more you sell, the better. Actually, you have only one-time costs. It's really simple with software. So for us, it's a matter of choice which way we go to a certain market. And the costs are always the same. You know, if I create a website for US and I create a website for Ukraine, the same costs. But you know, the size of opportunity is very different. So that's actually what we take into account. What the market looks like, what is the size of opportunity, what are the obstacles? Because if we know that there could be some strange payment options, etc., probably it's easier just to get a partner at this point to see how it goes. Then you can always switch to direct mode. That's it.
Okay. Andreas, speed to market is fundamental in the gaming industry because cloning is so rife. What have you done in Bigpoint to speed up the route to market? And any advice you can give people who are trying to get to market fast to get that early mover advantage?
So I would say what we learned is that we are always very performance driven, and data driven and ROI driven, as you might say it. Is we started off when we have a new product, so a new game, we translate it in the beginning already in all those languages. I mean, not all at the same time, but most of them. And we start with very small marketing budgets in each of the countries. And we see how the response is from there. And from there, we can grow the budget. A very interesting thing we learned through this method is what our biggest markets are. So we always assumed one of the biggest markets for our games would be the US. However, when we learned and rolled out our campaigns and increased our campaigns, we had a learning with one of the games, the Drakensang it's called, and we saw that after 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, we saw that Russia was actually the fastest growing market with a huge return on invest. So, and that leverage gave us the leverage to start really more campaigns and move more into building a brand, which is actually the goal for each game, because then you have the virality of the game, and you can get a lot of market share through that. So based on this type of campaign, we were actually we had the possibility to really make Russia one of our top markets. And now the same is happening for Turkey.
Okay. So let the data decide.
Yes, let the data decide. That's the
lesson all day today. Yeah. We've heard a lot today that there's a lot of barriers to entering certain markets and regions, whether it be cultural differences, consumer expectations, payments methods that Anthony gave us a lot of details about. Shonagh, could you tell us, in your experience today, have you seen this vary a lot, country to country, region to region? And have you any tips and tricks for sort of how you've circumvented that or managed to cope with those challenges over the years?
Definitely seen it. It's the bit I love about my job the most, is learning about new countries and people and what they expect. It's just fascinating. It's also really frustrating. I think that you have to, everyone's different, and there are stereotypes for a reason, and people have different expectations. And it's not just about the product, it's about the service, it's about the cultural sort of setup. And so I think there's nothing better than going to learn about it. And you can do that cheaply, you can do that expensively, but going to speak to a native, someone that lives there and understands the market, is exactly what you have to go and do. And then it's not until you have that knowledge and that understanding from a local rather than what you assume to be the case. As you said, you can make a lot of assumptions and they can be very wrong. I think you need to go in and speak and understand. Some of I can go on for hours of stories that I've learned along the way that I just find fascinating. Examples are Thailand, probably not a market that any of you want to go to particularly readily, but when they build buildings on a street, they number them by the order they went up in. So it could be 1, 64, 97, 104, 4. And so there's no way of a delivery company knowing how to get to them. So you have to create in your online checkout a way of creating the local point of interest, which could be a temple or it could be a bridge or something, and then you have to write free-flow words to explain how to get to the house you're going to go to. And there are countless examples of what you need to do. So I think you just have to go understand the challenges and then be very creative in how you're going to get around it. But also understand what your competitors are doing. It could be that they've got a solution you can copy, or it could be that the things you're worrying about just aren't as important. You know, that payment method that you thought is really, really important. Actually, if people want to buy from you, they'll find alternatives. And it could be that you need to get to that ideal payment method eventually, but right now you can survive on a lesser method.
Okay, so get local knowledge.
Local knowledge, be creative, and just, yeah.
And Maxim, what about from your industry? How have you come over the challenges that you've met?
It's a good point. I can tell actually funny stories and practical stories. I don't know which one would you prefer. So I'll start with practical, probably then I can tell something funny. So we do usability researches. I think all of you have heard about this more or less. In case you don't, I'll just tell it in short words. We basically select major markets. We use agency, and sometimes we do it in-house. We invite like 30 people from each market. They do the full cycle. They purchase a product. They use the software. They renew the software. They read the emails. So we have all the sales scenarios. And you know how fun it is to sit and look how real customers interact with your product and buy things. So this is when you learn everything. Though, speaking about practical advice, okay, if you don't money for a full-scale usability research, you can do a small one, just taking your friend or whatever. So what could be found there? So actually, we are mostly speaking about only one part of a market and mix, which is more about promotion. In many cases, especially in our case, again, you will hate me, we can change product and customize product easily. And also sales models is a part of a product. So just giving you an example to be not just high level. So we have a subscription, when you buy, mostly now software is subscription based. So you buy 1 year, then you renew it 1 more year. So somewhere in US, it's an okay thing if you ask a person to provide a credit card, and by default you have auto subscription, like auto renewal. If you make something like that in Russia or in Germany, they will take you to the court. So more to say, if a person sees this thing on the page and you have this check mark by default, that's crazy. I mean, if you see a live person, he would tell, what's that? What do you expect me? Why do you behave yourself like that with me? So with email marketing, we sometimes do double opt-in because it's the same thing. In Germany, you can get it. The same thing, I don't know, if you put by default to a shopping cart additional things. In our case, it's backup CD. I don't know who uses that, honestly, but there are some people who would love to have a hardware copy of your software. Again, in US, we could make it by default. In Russia, myself, I would eliminate this person if they put something in my shopping cart. So, but that's great. I mean, in some countries it works, so you need to learn it. Speaking about other things, payment method, that's true. I mean, probably you won't invite me again, but in Russia there is another company which has a virtual currency. Anyway, you've heard something of them. So the point is, if you make a test, you will see that conversion rate could increase 2 times if you just have this currency or not, because people are not used to pay with credit cards, but they use these virtual currencies. So I don't know, there are more things here. With language, with sales triggers. So I was deeply surprised when we test a lot. So things I'm saying, mostly we tested them. In Germany, again, if you have an award from a local magazine, you have a conversion rate uplift. I mean, for me, it's kind of, I don't care actually if this magazine reviewed it or not, they care. So these are the cultural diversity, cultural differences. I would like to highlight sources of information. So it's usability research, or it's just tell a friend research. It's e-commerce partners. That's your closest friend, actually, because e-commerce partners, e-commerce platforms, they know a lot on what is happening. And it's consultants. Okay, sometimes you have to pay. sorry.
Can I just build on that as well? The other thing is you're bound to have a customer there already. I completely agree. Asking people is so important, whoever it happens to be. But if you've got a customer in that country, just call them up. They obviously love you already. They're obviously shopping with you or using your service. And they love nothing more than help. It's kind of human nature. And if you offer them something into the bargain, they're going to love you even more. So, if nothing else, it's really cheap. Pick up the phone and have a chat and give them a voucher or something.
It's great advice. Just ask your customer base. Because they're
there.
Give them a little incentive. Okay. So logistics can make or break a market. And I'm looking at you now, Shonagh, because you ship some rather large things all around the world. You're not in the virtual world as some of the other people here.
Sadly.
Or in the tour world. You actually ship bikes all around the globe as far as I can see. Can you tell us a little bit about how Wiggle's logistics strategy has evolved as the company grew, and any tips and tricks for people in the audience that are trying to get sort of global logistics down?
I'll do my best. It's not my area of expertise, I have to say. I think it's about, again, understanding what customers want. It's probably a bit boring for me to keep on going on about it, but expectations in different countries are huge. So, for instance, in Australia, they are very happy to have long times between when you order and when you get delivery, just because they accept the fact that they have to have imports. So their expectations on delivery networks, etc., is very different to Germans, who have a phenomenal logistics service, and they expect it to be there very quickly in a plethora of different ways. So I think the key thing for Wiggle has been, over time, just developing better partnerships with more and more service providers, either through a company that can aggregate those services for us or directly relationships. But it's absolutely critical. I think that last mile is always really important. Customer expectations, both on delivery and returns. So when we first launched, every customer had to send their product back to the UK. Now we have local returns addresses where we aggregate the returns and then send them back to the UK at our own cost, as and when.
Martin Newman spoke earlier today about the importance of organisation structure and evolution as online and internationalisation becomes more important. Robin, perhaps you could tell us how you've had to factor this into your organisation as you've grown. You're in the early stages of growth, so what allowances have you had to make within the team?
Yeah, I think when we started out, we had a small sales team that we're kind of a jack of all trades. They all did the same thing. But as the company evolved, we started to make specialist departments within our base here in Ireland, so that when the customers were contacted us, we could give them a specialist service to reach the goals they wanted to achieve, depending on whatever tour or whatever country they were looking to go to. And that's worked very well in terms of helping us, increase our conversion once we generate the lead from our customer. But additionally, more recently, we realised that for us, our core competence is selling travel. That's what we do. And until March of last year, we would have done all our administration, etc., also in Ireland. But we took the decision in March last year to move that out to Pakistan. We have a small team out there of 6 staff that's taken over. They do all of our administration, our invoicing, and a lot of our accounting functions, which has allowed us to free up the team here in Ireland to focus on driving sales to continue the considerable growth year on year that we're currently experiencing. So over the course of the next 12 months, we're looking to continue to develop the team overseas. And obviously now that we're looking to go into the French and German market, and that's bringing challenges such as language that we really haven't had to contend with up to now. We're looking to seek to having offices both in France and in Germany, so that again we can better serve the customer in those regions.
Andreas, could you talk to Bigpoint's evolution of organisation structure?
We've done a lot of learnings along the way, I have to say. So we started off as a really typical German company based in Hamburg, a typical German startup, and we said, okay, we need growth. We need to grow internationally because the product was very profitable and the market was evolving very quickly. From there, we opened up offices in different countries, and we even developed games in other countries. And the learning we got from that is that for us it's very important that we have a close connection to the actual developers of the game, and a close proximity to different people. We found out that even one floor up between IT and distribution is already causing communication gaps. So, and that's where we said, okay, centrally we can organize almost everything except for the partnerships that we have with in local markets. So, like partnerships with TV stations, partnerships with magazines that we have, or internet portals, and that's in the local market.
Maxim, can you tell us, how do you organize online sales and digital marketing for a company of your size? You know, if you're 29 offices and you're trying to organize an international AdWords strategy or digital strategy, how do you coordinate all that? Do you use agencies? Is it in-house? Is it a combination of both?
Actually, that's a very good question, because that's the toughest one, honestly. For any big company, actually, how do you organize things? It's even more important than how you optimize it. In our case, I mean, in any case, this is a question. I think, let me ask you, what do you think? Is it better, I don't know, you go to, let's say, to Turkey. Is it better to hire a local agency and to put a local online manager, or to have a global person and a global agency? Who would go for local? Okay. Who would go for global? It's kind of... What does it mean? It's
50-50.
50-50, yeah. So, okay, the point is that we had both experiences. So over the time, we come to the point that actually, of course, local agency is more efficient usually. They know local market, they have native speakers, they are ready to work with you for free if you're a brand. Okay, it's not free, but it's much cheaper than with global agencies. At the same time, it takes so much time and effort to bring them to the same baseline from an analytics standpoint, from communication standpoint, to integrate them in companies' processes. So by the end of the day, you learn that it's easier to have regional agencies and global agencies. So what do we have now? We have a combined scheme. So let's say we have an agency for Southern Europe for the full region. It still allows us to have local people, local offices, language-speaking people, because you would be surprised, it's pretty hard to find someone speaking English. I mean, you have lots of agencies. In France, it was the case for us. I'm always surprised. There is an agency, and there's one person only. There are 200 of them, one person who speaks English fluently. I'm not kidding. I mean, when you start these things, it's crazy. At the same time, it's challenging, because when you want to enter new markets, like Middle East, for instance, you go to an agency you used to work to and ask, okay, are you ready to work in Middle East? Do you have native speakers? No, we don't. So I would say it's combined. Still, we aim for having global or at least regional agencies, because it's just efficient, and this optimization that local agencies could do, it's not worth going for it, honestly. Speaking about internal structure, again, it's mixed. So we grow professionals in global team, so we have global team, which I am a part of, and local people, they more do kind of business development. So if we're talking about major regions like, I don't know, France, Italy, etc., and smaller regions like small emerging markets, it could be operated directly from headquarters.
Okay. Andreas, could you tell us a little bit about any Google metrics or data that you use when you're trying to sort of evaluate your export strategies?
I saw this morning when Martijn was doing his presentation, which was very interesting, that he is using Google Trends a lot. And personally, I really like this a lot, because this is one of my favorite tools, which I always use to see how a market develops, where are opportunities in the market, but also to see how our competitive position develops over time. So that's what I'm using often for. Yeah, more strategic development. On a more day-to-day basis, and to see more what is happening on a specific website behavior, we use a lot of Google Analytics data in there. So from this data, you can read how a customer is actually behaving on your website, and what how you can optimize the whole flow that is going there. So. Another tool, or which my SEO team is using a lot, is of course the Google Webmaster tool, which is essential, I would say, for every company that has an internet presence.
And do you mind me asking, are you using Analytics Premium or just regular?
We're using Analytics Regular, so that's it's currently in discussion, because the size of our company is so big that we're looking, is it should we move to a premium solution, or can we stay with the regular one?
Maxim, I'm keen to go to you again, and I might put this question to you too, Shonagh. How has Google supported your export strategy? Like, is there any particular services that we've offered, or account management, or tools that we've used with you that you've found particularly beneficial?
Okay, if I start, I've just been tutoring our account manager about a new market. So actually, probably the most helpful thing is that Google has local people for every country. Well, almost for every country. I think there are some. So
we have 64 languages right here in Dublin.
Which actually allows to ask Google, can you please have a look at our website? It helps, because it helped us several times, like, okay, wrong currencies, I don't know, wrong promotion, which is not applicable for a certain region because actually it's Muslim and not Christian. So anyway, that's probably the most helpful thing, that Google could be this guy, could be this friend, could be this a quick usability research. The second thing is Google Trends. Well, everyone knows that. And the third thing, I don't know if you use it, but we were provided this or like country overviews, country reports, and also could be audience reports. I think this is something that Google doesn't offer like, for everyone, but if you talk to your account manager, you can get it, and it could be really helpful.
So that service is offered by the Global Expansion Team, which are the team that are set up outside, and it's going to be Carl on stage tomorrow morning, the Global Expansion Team, but anyone in this room would be an LCS customer and could avail of that. Andreas, do you have anything to add on how Google has supported you personally or your company in the export strategy?
Yeah, so for sure. So we've had last year we had a launch of a new game, which was a city building game, and as some of you might be actually playing games, city building game is a very competitive market. So we had to grow this really very fast and scale fast. So and that's when we worked really closely together with the team here in Dublin and the team in Hamburg. So we got support with not only the translations or the keywords, but also in campaign optimization, and that was very useful because it really gave us the opportunity to scale up within 2 or 3 weeks, and it scaled up. Well, I cannot name any numbers, but it scaled up to a huge volume. So from budget-wise, so that was It has helped also us for the campaigns, for learning about how the tips that the local people can give you at Google are very useful to further build up a certain campaign.
Thank you. It's worth noting the reason why we have so many languages here is exactly for that reason, that we want native speakers. And that's why we have so many I have so many international colleagues here in Dublin. So I'm just getting the nod for time now, but we have an opportunity for some quick questions, and there might even be one more Google Glass demo to be given out to the best question that's asked of the panel. So would anyone like to raise their hand if they'd like to ask? Oh, we've we've 2 right up the front here and 1 at the very back. So we'll just get microphones if you could just identify yourself. Once you get the microphone. Oh, we're going there first. We've one down here too, please.
My name is Yaroslav. I work for a company called Mobisoft. I have a question for Maxim. You were mentioning that it's kind of tough to define the right pricing policy for this or that market because of the different opportunities and so forth, and so on and so forth. But you've mentioned that you go to the partner and then define the right move. So what kind of partnership are you talking about? And do you have any other best practices on how to come up with the right pricing for this or that market? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, indeed, pricing is an important thing. So what could be done with pricing? I'm just going to be very practical. So the first thing is you could test, and it's easy to test. Usually, if we want to test things, we test things, in a silo. So for instance, you could take branded paid search, which is something that could be separated. You do several landing pages with different pricing models. You compare it, you see the result. Then speaking about price, another thing to test is discounts or any kind of promotions. So first of all, different kind of promotions work in different regions, but then the way people take the price is different. So in some region, let's say percentage off could work better, like 30% off. In some region, hard euro off could work better. coming back to those who could help, I've pointed out e-commerce partners. If we're talking about software, the thing is that we don't provide customer support. We provide technical support, but we don't provide customer support. We don't deliver. Even digital delivery is operated not by us. So e-commerce partner is an important chain, is an important part of our chain, and they are really experienced because they have, let's say, hundreds of software vendors and other vendors. So this is someone you could talk to, someone who proceeds your payments, someone who does delivery, etc. So this is the partner I was talking about. Usually they know much more. So again, I think probably there, in our case, e-commerce partner is the most important partner, and then indeed it goes Google, who provides lots of things on Expert.
Okay.
That's true, yeah.
We have 2 more questions here.
Yeah, Stig Arf from the finance industry in Norway. To the whole panel, a question. Do you see that peer-to-peer payment schemes like Bitcoin or similar schemes will make any impact on how you conduct your business in the next years? For example, 2 of you are delivering software products, which would be a typical case in point.
Yes. Should I start? So it's. I think it gives an option. I don't think Bitcoin will be the biggest one, but similar ones, yes, for sure. We've integrated lots of payment methods in our systems. I would say any payment system has a chance to succeed, whether it be if it be wallet, if it be mobile payment. For us, it doesn't really matter. So which payment method uses. So that's I think from a peer-to-peer point of view, that the peer-to-peer payment, I think we need to gather a lot more experience in that first. So we've integrated it in our games, but the volume is so little. But yes, we have it today, but it's really tiny.
From my side, I would say that it depends a lot on political situation because, in Russia, it's already claimed to be a support for terrorism if you use Bitcoin. So it's totally banned. It happened like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or something. So, I mean, coming back to your question, in Russia you can use it if you don't mind to be someone there.
It's high risk.
Yeah, so it's a bit risky, let's put it this way. Otherwise, I don't know, personally, I take it a little bit like public relations story so far, so those companies who accept these things, it's more about to be somewhere in press. In real life, let's see. I don't know. I think it's a matter of time.
Shonagh or Robin?
For us, I don't think it'll make any change. The industry we're in is considered higher risk because our average ticket value is high, especially for a younger company. I mean, as you grow, it certainly gets easier. So the number of processors that we can deal with is limited. So I don't think something like that's going to impact us very much. Our biggest problem is finding a bank that wants to take our volume when they see growth so fast and doubling year on year. You might think that the bank thinks that's wonderful. It's more business for them, but the converse is actually true. It's very difficult to get them to deal with you. So we have to deal with a number of different banks to contain our volume so that we can actually process. So I don't think things like Bitcoin are going to have.
Again, another good problem to have. And we'll just let Shonagh answer that question, and then I think we have to go. I'm being told.
It's a bit anticlimax. I haven't really anything to add, to be honest. I think at the moment for us it's about we're very much the traditional routes of payment. If it starts to take off anywhere, then obviously we'll follow suit, but it's not something we're promoting or I can't see happening in the short term. I'm sure I'll now be quoted and I said the complete wrong thing. But
So with that, I'd like to thank the panel. Thank you very much for your time. And I think we should... I think the Google Glass demo should go to the chap who had his hand up first and didn't get a chance to answer the question or ask the question because we don't have time now. But I think we'll give you the Google Glass demo. So we're going to. Thanks very much, guys.